Okay, here's the thing. When I complain about my disdain of Phil Dunphy and all the reasons that I think that he's a terrible father and husband, people will A, tell me that I have no idea what a terrible father and husband is, which... Incorrect. Incorrect. I was raised by a terrible father and husband, okay? I know exactly what I'm seeing. Just because my terrible father and husband looks completely different than Dunphy as a terrible father husband doesn't mean that I don't know what I'm talking about. Okay? Okay. That being said, people will constantly try to tell me all the reasons that Phil Dunphy is actually an amazing father and an amazing husband. And they will try, if they're not going to tell me that he's an amazing husband because they can't push it that far, because you can't list that many nice things that he's ever done for Claire in a day in his life, then they will try to tell me that he's an amazing father. And one of the biggest things that they will try to do and try to tell me is that Phil Dunphy is nice to his kids, that he does things with his children, and that he's there. Okay. You hear that? Nice to his kids. Sometimes does things with his children. Shows up. Let's discuss the things that Claire Dunphy does for her kids real quick, okay? Claire Dunphy takes her kids to every event that they have to go to, unless she can get someone else to give them a ride, which is rare, because Claire is often the one who gives the kids the rides, which is why in the episode when Phil randomly decides that he's going to buy a sports car, instead of replacing his reasonable adult human being with a job and 3 kids car that he was planning on replacing because he decides that he wants to buy the sports car, Phil Dunphy is no longer able to pick up his own clients to take them house hunting because he's a realtor. He's no longer able to use his actual, realtor signs and put them in his car because the car that he purchased was too small. But since he's the man of the house and he makes all the money, he did this and no one should be mad at him because people make mistakes. If Claire Dunphy made that mistake, I swear to God, you know exactly what would happen. Okay, anyways, back to it. So for that episode, because Phil Dunphy does not have a car that he can actually practically use, he has to borrow Claire's car. And he becomes Claire for a day because of that, because only one of them has a car that has enough seats to host children. So for once, he finally starts learning the things that are happening in his kids' lives, okay? He learns that a girl has a crush on Luke. He learns that his kids have friends. He tries to get Alex's nose out of a book for the first time. And we see that he's doing all of the things that Claire would typically be doing. And why do we know that these are the things that Claire would typically be doing? Because at the end of the day, when he has to go get Claire, because she accidentally lost the keys to the stupid car that she was using for the day, and she was kind of playing hooky because she wasn't having to be a mom for the entire day, because Phil was taking over for one day, less than 24 hours, one day. Phil is in shock at how much closer he feels to his kids, about how much he now knows about his kids, and Claire just goes, oh yeah, oh wow, that's a new development. It wasn't like that yesterday. Oh, and you learn all of these interesting things about the kids, not because Claire doesn't already know them, but because it wouldn't be interesting to see them through Claire's eyes, because it's very interesting to see them through Phil's eyes, because Phil has no idea what is going on in his children's lives. Phil does the 3 things that people constantly remind me that Phil does, which is, again, basically just showing up and being nice to his kids. But we forget that anytime Phil is going to try and discipline his kids, show his kids that he's a parent, show his kids that he's the boss of them, or when he is showing up and being there for his kids, he's actively only doing it because he wants to. And when I say that, I mean it's specifically that he is doing something that he does not care whether or not his kids will enjoy. He thinks that his kids should enjoy it. He's going to force them to enjoy it. And while he forces them to enjoy it, he makes it about himself. We see this often, and we see it a lot later when Luke starts getting good at the things that Phil is good at and Phil gets jealous of his child. We see it also in the first episode of the show when Phil, at the end of said episode, goes, what would I do like on the day that Luke beats me? I would shake his hand, I would say, good job, buddy, and then I'd say best 2 out of 3 because there's no way that he'd win twice, right? And that's what we see Phil do later when Luke starts becoming good at everything that Phil loves. He starts getting jealous, he starts being angry, and he starts wanting Luke to fail constantly because Phil wants to be the hero of the house, he wants to be the hero of the family, he wants to be the hero of the world, but he can't be the hero of the world, so it would be much easier for him to just be the hero of his family. And he doesn't actually care if his kids think that he's a hero, he just cares that he thinks that his kids think that he's a hero. So again, back to it. Claire is the one who's constantly disciplining the kids. Claire is the one who is cooking for the kids. Even when Claire actually starts like working a job that's not just being a mom, which is a very hard job. It's the hardest job in the world, okay? She wasn't getting paid for any of that. And also being talked down to by her 3 bosses, the children, and the 4th one, her husband, who acts more like a kid than her kids do half the time. Claire gets none of the credit for anything that she does in the family for the kids when she's trying to take care of them. In fact, people only bring up the things that Claire does wrong. But because Phil so rarely parents, people try to be like, no, but he tried. He tried, and he did such a good job for trying and for it being his first time actually parenting and disciplining them. Like, say it with me, the episode where Claire and Phil switch places, and Claire is like, hey, you have to be on these kids. You have to ride them. You have to make sure that they do the thing. And what do Haley and Alex do? Immediately con their dad into thinking that they cleaned the bathroom, only for him to realize that they didn't while they're driving away as quickly as possible because they're children. Because they're children. And what does Phil do for the entire rest of the episode? Tortures them. Okay, yeah, he's making them clean the bathroom, and that's what he should have been doing all along. He should have been watching him clean the bathroom, but while he's doing that, he will not give them food. He will not give them water. He's saying that they're grounded for like the next 6 months. He has duct taped their computer closed, which is just a completely thoughtless gesture for multiple reasons. One being, how are you gonna get the duct tape off after, bestie? I mean, yeah, you can cut the sides, but like, where's it gonna get off the rest of it? The bigger issue is not that it still opens and closes. The bigger issue is that you're actually just, I don't know, hurting the outside of the laptop for no reason other than to prove a point when you could have just hidden it. Because he wanted to prove a point more than he wanted to be a parent, because his point was that he could be a good parent, but by doing that, he's actively actually abusing the kids for an episode. And that's what we see. Anytime Phil tries to be a parent, he takes it too far, and it's supposed to be the joke of the show, but it's not a joke. It's not funny. It's not a joke, because the only way that he can actually be a disciplinarian in this household is if he's basically harming his children. Which is then why we never see Phil be a basic disciplinarian, because he just can't do it. He just can't do it, and it's not his fault. He tries so hard. But yeah, no, Phil's a way better parent than Claire, because Phil shows up. I mean, sure, Claire is there for literally everything that happens with the kids ever. And Claire cooks for them and cleans up after them and takes them to all of their sporting events and knows where the events, not just sporting events, takes them to all of their events and knows where the events are and does all the things that she's supposed to do. But she's also really not paying enough attention to her kids. But the reason that she's not paying enough attention to her kids is because she physically does not have the time, because she has no help from her husband. But somehow people will still actively try to say that her husband is better than her as a parent. Because sometimes he's there and is nice to his kids, even if he's only being nice to his kids because he wants them to do something that he will enjoy. Never something that they'll enjoy. Except, again, for that one episode when Alex is in college. Not the episode where he's trying to trick a woman into, like, having a baby at the diner. No. Hate him more in that episode than I do in most of the usual episodes. No, I'm specifically talking about the one where Alex goes to college and wants to move back home, and he does everything in his power to try and get her to like the college experience until he goes, I fully believe that you tried everything, you can come home. And he does one last ditch effort, but while doing that one last ditch effort, it actually shows the ability to parent and be there for his kids and listen to them, and treat them with respect and empathy. And that's the only time we really get to see Phil Dunphy do that. So, yeah, thanks. Okay, bye.